Hi there, it's Jake here from GamesNosh.com, and with me is Evil Blue Koala. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, great stuff. And he's a composer. You may know him from a Skyrim mod called... what's it called?
It's just called Additional Music Project, but it's not really that original.
Yeah, that's the one. So, can you tell us a bit about your additional music project? Did you originally intend to write over 3 hours worth of music?
No, not at all. So I did a really small music pack for Oblivion back in the day, but the quality really wasn't that good. And then after a while, I started looking for more better software. Got a little better at composing, and then eventually Skyrim was there. And although the soundtrack was good, I mean it's more than decent. It lacked the original feeling of Oblivion. Oblivion had more of an active music, and because I kind of missed that, I started to write some stuff, and it started with 5 songs. Just I think it was maybe a dungeon track, a couple exploration tracks, and one combat track. And I released a really small pack, and then people downloaded it, and they thought it was okay. And then the idea was there to continue writing, just as long as I didn't get bored or I didn't grow tired of it. I just kept on doing it. And then on and off, I worked on it for 3 years. And then after those 3 years, it was 60 tracks. I released, I think it was on Steam, a pack which was 30 tracks, and it was really successful. And I thought, well, whoa, I was really blown away, because I think it was like the most downloaded mod for maybe like a couple of weeks. And I wasn't really used to that kind of attention. And I got a lot of positive feedback, and then I just kept on writing. And then after 60 tracks, I had something like, okay, now it has to stop. Also because I had trouble with the integration in the game. I don't know if there is a cap on how much user-made music the game can actually handle, but I noticed that newer tracks weren't all showing up in the playlists, and I didn't really know how to use the creation kit creatively. So I just threw it all in there, and then I stopped at 60.
Yeah.
Because it was over 3 hours. It was.
Also, you were going to write more. But,
yeah, I guess at the time I was thinking, well, why stop? But it was a good thing that I stopped eventually, because also I didn't make any money out of it. No, that's well, it didn't. I didn't have to make money out of it, but because I didn't make any money out of it, and it was really time consuming, I couldn't keep it up, because at the time I got a job and I had to work, and then after an 8-hour work day, it was really hard for me to, okay, I'm gonna write another song, and so I just quit. I was like, okay, this is enough.
So you say you changed the software you were using. What were you using before?
I still use small parts of Garriton Personal Orchestra, the second one, which is I guess really old by now. And then afterwards, I started using Miroslav Philharmonic.
Yeah, I've used both of those.
Yeah, and I use that one most of the time. And for the choir parts, I use East West. I think it's called, what's it called? Symphonic choirs, I think.
Yeah, that really struck me about the Skyrim music he did, was that the choir sounded really, really good, like almost as good as the original choirs, which is obviously like hundreds of people singing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So where did the name Evil Blue Koala come from?
The film Lilo and Stitch. At the time, I think I was maybe 16 years old, but even if I was 18 years old, it wouldn't be an excuse. But at some point in the movie, that I don't know if you've seen it, but he's an alien. So Stitch is an alien. He's like an experiment that escapes from an intergalactic prison, and he winds up on Earth. And at some point, they lock him up in a kennel because they don't know what it is. And they think it's a dog. And then the girl goes in. There's like a big, well, there's a woman and a little sister. And then she goes like, "Oh, it's a really cute dog." And then the older sister goes like, "No, it looks like a koala, like an evil koala." And Stitch is a blue koala. It's a blue alien. So I thought, okay, evil blue koala, easy enough. And it was something that I started using at the time. I don't know what I was playing, but maybe Counter-Strike or something, and it just stuck. And it always stayed the same thing. So that's why.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story.
So tell us about your involvement with game developer Rusty Bolt.
Rusty Bolt, yes. A couple of years ago, I was trying to get some more experience, and I started looking around for Belgian developers. And Belgium is like really small country, so it wasn't really hard. So I started writing these people, and Rusty Bolt, the guy behind it, he was the only one that actually replied, and he said, "Well, I don't have any money to pay you, but if you really want to make a soundtrack for my game, you're more than welcome to." So at the time, it was an iOS game, which was called Cobbler 2. And I just made the soundtrack for it and did some sound effects. And that was that. He released the game. It wasn't that successful, unfortunately. But then I guess he just kept on working. And then I think it was about a year and a half ago, I got an email and he said, "Well, I'm working on a new game. Are you interested in doing something?" He's like, yeah, sure. I'll give it a shot. And that's what right now the simple version of the music is there. So they're building the game right now. So there's the site, I think, went online. The game's called Revolve.
Yeah.
It's a game where you're a droid, and it's like a mix between Portal and it's a side scroller in Portal or something, in rough lines. It's something like that. And so they're building the game now, and this week and next week there are two small game conventions in Belgium, and he's showing a demo there. So until the game is fully built, I guess I'm not really going to hear from him again. And then afterwards, making the soundtrack a little more fine-tuned and maybe some more sound effects. So that's basically it.
Great stuff.
Yes.
So what kind of music can we expect to hear from Revolve?
Something completely different. It's electronic music, so I'm using not exclusively, but really most of the time synthesizer sounds, really spacey sounds. It's the original concept changed quite a bit, so I expect that I have to change music in the coming months, maybe. But your original idea was that you really needed like desolate music or something, like you're a robot, you're stuck in space, and you're all by yourself. That was the main idea. So it's really soft background music. It's not really that punchy, or originally it wasn't that punchy. But then I got an email and he said, "Well, I'm changing the first level completely. It's going to be more action packed, so I need action themed." So there's at least one action theme song in there right now. So it could go both ways right now. So there are probably going to be levels that's going to be more like an electronic dungeon-y sound, and others that are more up-tempo, I guess. And I still use some orchestral sounds, but it's not going to be that prominent this time around.
You recently made some music inspired by The Witcher.
The Witcher, yes.
Do you have plans to create an additional music project for The Witcher 3?
Well, yes and no, because to be honest, the soundtrack of The Witcher 3 is amazing. I mean, it's Skyrim is good. I mean, you still, I think, I don't really know how Jeremy Soule writes his music, but I think he uses a lot of plugins, and he doesn't really use that much of live instruments, except when he's using vocals. But if you listen to the Witcher soundtrack, it's so good and it's so pure, and it's all recorded. I think at least 80% is recorded with real instruments and a real band, because they used an actual folk band this time around. Yeah. I think. So I can't even possibly hope to top that. But I enjoyed The Witcher 3 so much that I just wanted to try it. I just want to do, okay, this is the stuff that I have. I want to try and make some music that is a little bit complementary to the original. But the problem now is that there is no way to implement it into the game, because they CD Projekt Red, they have something called the Red Kit, and they released it for the second Witcher. But they released it, I think, maybe 2 years ago, and The Witcher 2 is not that old, but it's old enough to be, a little, just to be called old. So, and CD Projekt Red are still making 2 expansion packs or DLC to the third Witcher game. So they're not going to plan on releasing the Red Kit anytime soon. So maybe in a year or so, I might still do it.
So it is something that's coming, though, isn't it? Like the Red Kit for Witcher 3.
I think it should be. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I hope so, because I'd really like to try it. Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to choose just one, which of these musical elements do you find most important to your work? Harmony, melody, texture, or rhythm?
I think texture. Difficult question for me, but I think texture. Texture.
Can you explain why?
Well, if texture is what I think it means, what I think it means is that the overall atmosphere should be really good.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if I think about it, all my music is very melody driven. So I guess melody is really important to me too. But it kind of depends. It also now, if I just think about how I made the music for Revolve, in which they told me, like, okay, it really shouldn't have melody. It should be something. You should be able to loop it. It shouldn't be boring, and it shouldn't be foreground music. So then I think, okay, so the texture really has to be good. You have to have really a sound layer behind the gameplay that isn't repetitive. So I guess that's really important. But then if I think of Skyrim, it's going to be all right, melody and harmony, definitely. That was the big challenge. I mean, I've never actually tried to make a variation to an existing theme. So when I started using the theme for the Elder Scrolls in the combat music, that was like, okay, I have an idea of the main melody, but then I'm going to harmonize it in a completely different way, or the way that I think it should be. And that was also so much fun to do, just to experiment with it. And some things really sound a little weird, but it's a very welcome variation to the original. So I guess, I mean, this is completely not an answer to your question, but I guess, yeah. So depending on what, but I think texture, melody, harmony, rhythm, of course it's important, but only when I write combat music, I really start from a rhythm idea. I guess, yeah. A melody comes after.
Okay. If you had the chance, which game or game series would you like to have composed for? For example, maybe a game that you enjoyed but didn't like the soundtrack, but it doesn't have to be that.
Okay. I'm thinking about a game. If I would just answer the question off the top of my head, I would actually really would like to work on Star Citizen.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
I'm not familiar with it, no.
No? Okay. It's basically the biggest crowdfunded game ever. It's made the guy behind it is Chris Roberts, and he made all sorts of space, simulators is a large word, but it's games like Wing Commander, and it was a big part of my youth, and now he has like the huge mega project, and that was a game I really would have liked to make the score for. But I'm thinking about music that I didn't like in a game. It's probably not that much of a popular opinion, but the main theme for Halo was really good. But if you listen to the soundtrack of, I think, the third one and the second one and the third one, it falls a little flat, because on the second one they used Incubus, and Incubus isn't a bad band. I mean, they are really good in what they do. But if I would have been able to make the soundtrack for that game, I would have probably do it differently. To be honest, if a game has a bad soundtrack, I usually don't finish it.
Yeah, I am kind of similar. Like, usually games with good soundtracks are also really good games. Last month you released your album Seaside Piano,
Yes.
Which features piano improvisations to the
Yes.
backdrop of rolling waves.
Yes.
What inspired you to create this album, other than, of course, the ocean?
Well, it was actually something. I am one of those people that do have a bucket list, and when I was a kid, I really enjoyed. There was a CD we had, and it was called Forest Piano, which was basically a piano playing while there were birds in the background, and that idea just stuck with me. And then a couple of months ago, I was on a holiday, and I had a new camera, which actually had a decent microphone, and I just started recording the waves. And then I was thinking, maybe I should just do an improvisation CD. I always wanted to do that, so why not do it? Because in Belgium, or basically where my friends and everybody's been around me for not all my life, but parts of my life, they always say, like, when you improvise on a piano, it's usually really good, or it's really pleasant. It's not like I'm not the best pianist in the world, but I can convey some feelings to people through a piano. And then I was thinking, okay, maybe because a lot of those improvisations, they get lost, because sometimes I do record them, but then they just end up somewhere on your computer, and then you don't listen to them ever. So I just thought, okay, maybe I should just make an album for myself. And that's basically what it was, because to be quite honest, nobody listens to it, but I don't mind. I was like really happy with the way it turned out for me. And for me, what's important for me is the music that I make. It should be the music that I would like to listen to. So if I make an album, and then you're emotionally attached to it. It was more or less the same thing with the Skyrim project. You make music and you think it's awesome, and then you don't listen to it for about 2 months, and then you listen to it again, and then you're like, this is actually pretty good. And then you come to a point when you write music, and you just mix your own stuff with composers you admire, and then at some point you're listening to a track, and you're thinking, what was this again? And then, oh, right, I made it. And if you can come to that if you can have that experience, then if I can have that experience, I'm happy about what I wrote. And I kind of have this with the piano thing as well. I recorded the whole thing, didn't listen to it for quite some time, and then listened to it again. I was like, yeah, for me this is all right. So that's why I did it, I guess. Yeah.
Final question.
Okay.
What's your ambitions for the future? Like, what are some of your goals, or your ultimate goal, maybe?
My ultimate goal. It's I think my ultimate goal, if I can just take a pick, is to have one of my pieces being played by a real orchestra.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate thing for me right now. Because I'm not really, in terms of really getting employed into the gaming business, I'm not really that ambitious, because I'm quite happy about how my life is going right now. I have a lot of hobbies, and also it's a little bit out of self-knowledge. I don't know, that's actually an English word, but you know yourself. And if I would do the composing thing full time, I would probably burn out in maybe 6 months, because I would just keep working and working and working and working and working, and then I'd go nuts. So if I can do it in my spare time, and if I can have a certain connections, like the Rusty Bolt thing, if he's making another game and he's thinking, I like your last soundtrack, are you interested in doing a new one, that would be fine for me on the long term. I really don't want to the idea that I would actually make a score for a AAA game really freaks me out. I don't even want to start doing that, because the liberty you have when you make a mod is that it can suck and nobody cares that it sucks. It can for me it can only be a good thing. The Skyrim thing really exploded. I never thought it would be that successful. But for me, that is like ending on a high note. If that's the last thing that I do, it was a decent run. But I would really like to have some orchestra play one song. That would be, yeah, that would be it, I guess, right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
And to you too. Yeah.
That Thanks. Was Evil Blue Koala. And yeah, hopefully be hearing more from you sometime in the future.
Okay. I'll do my best.